This is the Podcast Lab. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.
We're one of the many people looking into the gig economy. Smart move.
Yeah, definitely a smart move.
It's really not just changing how we work.
Right.
It's like completely redefining it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're moving away from that old 9 to 5 into this world of freelance gigs, projects, like on-demand everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably use gig platforms yourself already.
Right.
Uber, Fiverr, TaskRabbit.
All the time.
I mean, they're everywhere.
They are.
And we've got some like super fascinating sources for this deep dive to help you really understand this whole shift.
For sure.
Some sources are even saying that like by next year, over half of the U.S. workforce could be involved in some kind of gig work.
Wow.
That's huge.
It is a pretty massive shift.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why someone would want to like do a deep dive on this.
Totally.
Whether you are prepping for a meeting or just curious about the future of work, we're going to unpack the pros and cons and what they might mean for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's start with like the allure. Yeah.
The why behind this massive shift.
Okay.
Our sources all point to one big thing: freedom.
Right. That promise of flexibility.
Yeah.
Like you set your own hours.
Hey.
You can choose your projects.
Exactly.
And potentially you could work from anywhere.
Amazing.
It's a huge draw for people who just want more control over their time.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want a better work-life balance.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like the story of Rachel Kim.
Oh, yeah. I read about her.
Yeah. A freelance graphic designer we read about.
Yeah.
She left a traditional agency to go solo.
Right.
And like hasn't looked back.
Good for her.
I know. She loves the freedom to work from anywhere.
Of course.
The variety of clients.
Sure.
And the chance to keep her creativity alive.
You know, Rachel's experience highlights a key aspect of this new working world.
Okay.
It's almost like everyone becomes like this mini entrepreneur.
Interesting.
You get to build your own brand,
Wow.
find your niche,
Okay.
and market your skills directly. That sounds super empowering.
It is.
But how does that actually play out for someone like Rachel?
Right.
Like, does she ever struggle to find enough work or clients?
Well, that's where the other side of the coin comes in.
Uh-oh.
The hidden costs.
Okay.
This whole freedom thing can come with some unforeseen expenses.
I bet. Like the lack of benefits,
Definitely.
no health insurance,
Nope.
no paid time off,
Not at all. No.
and like figuring out retirement savings all on your own.
All by yourself.
That sounds pretty daunting.
It is.
Yeah.
And then on top of all that, there's the income instability.
Yeah.
Yeah, work can be feast or famine, making it super hard to budget and plan for the future.
That's scary.
Yeah, and our sources kind of highlight this through the story of Carlos Lopez.
Oh, yeah. Carlos.
Yeah, a delivery driver.
Okay.
He loves the flexibility,
Yeah.
but some weeks he barely makes enough to cover expenses.
Oh, wow.
That constant uncertainty can be incredibly stressful.
Wow. Hearing Carlos's story makes the trade-offs really hit home.
Right.
You know, this isn't just about some abstract economic trends.
No.
It's about real people
Real people.
trying to navigate this like completely new way of working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Carlos's experience brings us to some bigger questions.
Okay.
If the gig economy is becoming the new norm, how do we ensure that it's fair
Right.
and sustainable for everyone?
Okay, let's unpack that.
Right.
Our sources raise some like crucial points about worker treatment.
Yes.
The role of platforms,
For sure.
governments, and whether this whole model is even sustainable in the long run.
Right.
I'm curious, what are some of the different perspectives on these issues?
Well, there are different schools of thought.
Yeah.
You have worker advocacy groups pushing for things like portable benefits
Okay.
and like fair algorithms on these platforms.
Interesting.
Then you have the platforms themselves who are often focused on keeping costs low
Makes sense.
and maintaining flexibility for both workers and users.
Oh.
And of course, then there's the whole question of what role government should play in regulating this new landscape.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is.
So you mentioned portable benefits.
Right.
Can you explain what those are and how they might help someone like Carlos?
Sure. So imagine like your healthcare and retirement savings aren't tied to a specific employer.
Okay.
That's the idea behind portable benefits.
Gotcha.
You'd carry them with you from gig to gig.
Interesting.
It would make switching jobs or platforms way less risky.
So less scary.
Yeah, Dr. Alana Novak, a labor economist we learned about.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Novak.
She's a big proponent of this.
Okay.
She argues that portable benefits would provide a much-needed safety net for gig workers
Okay.
without burdening individual companies.
So a good compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and what about those algorithms you mentioned?
Right.
How could they be made fairer for workers?
So think about how ride-sharing apps assign rides, or how freelance platforms rank workers. These algorithms often prioritize speed and efficiency,
Right.
sometimes at the expense of worker well-being.
That makes sense.
Novak suggests designing algorithms that actually factor in things like fair pay,
Okay.
reasonable work hours, and even worker satisfaction.
Interesting.
The idea is to create a system that benefits both the platform
Okay.
and the people powering it.
So both sides.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential for change,
Yeah, definitely.
both from within the tech industry and through policy.
Right.
But even within this evolving landscape, some people are managing to thrive in the gig economy.
Yeah.
What are they doing differently?
They're adapting.
Okay.
They're taking that entrepreneurial mindset we talked about and just running with it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So what's their secret?
Well, our sources highlight some key strategies.
Okay, let's hear them.
One of the most important is diversification.
So not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Instead of relying on a single platform or client,
Okay.
so successful gig workers build multiple income streams.
So like side hustles?
Kind of. So for someone like Rachel,
Okay.
that might mean offering her design services on a few different platforms,
Okay.
while also cultivating relationships with direct clients.
So more than one way to make money.
Right. It's about spreading the risk
Makes sense.
and creating more stability in an unpredictable market.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Rachel needing to cultivate direct clients.
Right.
Does that mean she needs to like market herself like a small business?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that brings us to another crucial strategy: investing in yourself.
Interesting. How so?
In the gig economy, your skills are your currency.
That's true.
That means constantly learning,
Okay.
refining your craft,
Yay.
and building a strong online presence that showcases your expertise.
Okay.
Think about platforms like LinkedIn, or even creating your own website.
So you're your own marketing department.
You got it.
And just like any smart entrepreneur, financial planning is crucial.
Yep.
Right. Without a steady paycheck,
Right.
you need to be extra diligent about budgeting, saving for taxes,
Yep.
and putting money aside for retirement.
Exactly.
I imagine that takes a lot of discipline.
It does.
Are there any tools or resources that can help gig workers manage their finances effectively?
There are.
Okay, what are some?
For example, there's software specifically designed for freelance accounting and taxes.
Interesting.
These tools can help you track income,
Okay.
expenses, and even identify potential tax deductions that you might be missing.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and it can save you a lot of money.
So what about like the social aspect of work? It
Right.
seems like working solo all the time could get pretty isolating.
That's a real concern.
Yeah,
But savvy gig workers are combating isolation by building community.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how are they doing that?
You're connecting with other freelancers
Yeah.
online and in person,
Okay.
sharing advice, resources, and even moral support.
That's great.
It's a reminder that even though you're technically self-employed,
Right.
you don't have to go it alone.
It sounds like navigating the gig economy successfully requires a unique blend of skills.
Yeah, it does.
Entrepreneurial spirit,
For sure.
financial savvy,
Yeah.
and a strong sense of community.
Absolutely.
But where is all of this headed?
Right.
What does the future hold for this new world of work?
Well, one thing seems certain.
Okay, what's that?
The gig economy isn't going anywhere.
Wow.
It's already reshaping industries.
Yeah,
And as technology continues to evolve,
right.
it's only going to become more prevalent.
So if the gig economy is here to stay,
Right.
what should we be paying attention to?
Okay.
What are the big questions we need to be asking?
Well, for one, how can we ensure gig work is truly a viable path to a sustainable livelihood?
Right.
We've talked about portable benefits and fair algorithms,
Yeah.
but what other innovations or policy changes might be needed to address the systemic issues we discussed earlier?
It makes you wonder, will we see entirely new platforms emerge that are built with worker well-being in mind from the ground up?
Right.
Or will it take more regulation and advocacy to create a fairer playing field within the existing system?
Yeah, those are some really good questions.
Yeah, and it's like it makes you think about all this AI stuff.
Yeah.
We've already seen how AI is automating certain tasks. Do you think that could lead to more opportunities for big workers? Or will it make things even more competitive?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some experts think that AI could free up gig workers to focus on
Okay.
more creative and specialized tasks,
Interesting.
while others worry about potential displacement.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on.
For sure. And then there's this whole movement towards worker cooperatives.
Right.
We touched on this earlier.
Yeah, we do.
But can you explain how that model might address some of the power imbalances we see in the gig economy?
Sure. So imagine if a ride-sharing platform like Uber
Okay.
was owned and operated by the drivers themselves.
Wow.
That's essentially a worker cooperative.
Interesting.
Workers have a direct stake in the business.
Okay.
They have a say in how it's run, and they get a share of the profits.
So they're more invested.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty radical departure from the traditional gig platform model.
Right.
But it's gaining some traction in certain sectors.
Do you think worker cooperatives could become like a mainstream alternative to traditional gig platforms?
It's really tough to say for sure, but it's a trend worth watching.
For sure.
It kind of speaks to a broader desire for more worker autonomy and control, which is really at the heart of the gig economy's appeal in the first place.
So we've covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive.
We have.
From the allure of freedom to the very real challenges, and even some potential paths forward.
Lots to think about.
What are the key takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the gig economy is not like this one thing.
Yeah.
It's not a monolithic entity.
Okay.
It's a really complex and evolving ecosystem with both opportunities and risks.
Right.
So whether you're considering trying out gig work, or you're already like a seasoned freelancer, it's super important to approach this whole landscape with a clear understanding of the trade-offs.
So you've really got to be adaptable,
For sure.
resourceful, and willing to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's crucial to stay informed about the changing trends, policies, and technologies that are shaping this new world of work.
For sure. Those are really important.
So to wrap up, here's a final thought for our listeners.
Okay, hit us with it.
Could the gig economy, for all its flaws,
Right.
actually be a catalyst for something even bigger?
Interesting.
Could it be pushing us towards a future of work that's more flexible,
Okay.
more purpose-driven,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately more fulfilling?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, what do you think? We'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts.
Be sure to share your thoughts or experiences with us.
Definitely.
This conversation is just the beginning.
And if you found this deep dive thought-provoking,
Yes.
be sure to check out our upcoming episodes on the future of work
Yes.
and the skills you'll need to thrive in the 21st century.
For sure. We've got some amazing guests lined up and can't wait to dive in with you again.
See you next time.